When I look out my back door and the sky looks like this, I don't even think about going to the airport. I just go back to bed. But on days like this, I feel pretty good about taking a flight. It was on a day like this that my wife and I decided on a trip to Mississippi for a weekend visit. Before I'm going to get excited about doing that, the first thing I'll do is check my cell phone weather along the route of flight and at the destination. Now, headed west from my home, it's a 252 nautical mile trip. Things at the departure end look okay. Things at the destination look okay too. Huntsville is about halfway there, and that looks doable. And off to the south of our route of flight, Birmingham seems to be fine as well. But that's not aviation weather. So out comes the iPad and ForeFlight. I enter the route and I pack it to get a briefing. Everything's okay. So we drive to the airport, and that takes about 45 minutes. During the drive, I discuss with my wife that in the summertime, pop-up storms are likely to happen. In fact, just yesterday, around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a thunderstorm hit us that was totally not predicted. But we press on. At the airport, it takes about 30 minutes to get the plane loaded, do a pre-flight, pull her out of the hangar, and park the car. So it's 2:20 and we're set to go. I pull out my cell phone and look at the radar image of precipitation. Sure enough, there's a few isolated cells that are forming to the west of us. I tell Gail that we'll just weave our way around them and keep going as long as we can clearly see VFR weather ahead. My wife scans the horizon with her iPhone while I do the run-up. She thinks the ridges that are east of our airport are pretty. Taking off, she spots this nice house under the traffic pattern. Climbing out, you can see that we have cumulus buildups. These are pretty common here on VFR days. I often have to fly low to remain clear of the clouds, and today's no exception. We level off at 3,500 feet, about 2,000 feet AGL. Level, now we pass over Calhoun, Georgia, and pull up the ADS-B weather. Looks pretty dramatic, but we're still in clear skies. We press on and fly over this last ridge before we enter Alabama. This high school is in Chattooga River. They have quite an investment in athletics, with 9 tennis courts, a football stadium, 2 baseball diamonds, and 3 practice or softball fields. Not bad for a small rural community. We fly on to Fort Payne, Alabama, shown here. Later, we arrive at Albertville, Alabama, and even though it looks clear outside to the left, ahead and to the right, it's raining. I've been listening to Atlanta Center describing conditions ahead, and so I decided to land and let it pass. Now, if you look hard, you can make out the boundary of runway 23 ahead. My wife took these pictures on the ramp, standing water everywhere. We didn't want to open the canopy in the rain, so we just sat there until the rain let up. And if you wonder if the RV-12 leaks, it does. After waiting an hour and calling flight service, I decide conditions west of us will not pass or improve until after dark. The small cells had combined into a wall of storms that I couldn't fly through. So I decided to turn around and fly home. These are pictures that show that the flight home was uneventful. This is the flight-aware chart of our flight to Albertville. Normally the flight path would be a straight line, but the turns that are shown are from me weaving around rain. Now zooming out some shows conditions ahead if I had continued on. Atlanta Center called conditions moderate to severe. I don't need to penetrate that in a light sport aircraft. Our flight east and back home from 8 Alpha Zero was uneventful and dry. As a VFR pilot, I'm willing to go for a look-see if I think I can get through, but I'm also willing to turn around or land to avoid getting into trouble. And now this is funny. Look at what just arrived in my email inbox. So even though we didn't make it to our destination, as Shakespeare would say, all's well that ends well. Subscribe and stay tuned to see what happens next. For now, I've locked the plane down since she's due for a condition check. Maybe I will join the AMP and show a bit of that as it happens. If so, I hope you'll come along. See you then.